What is up, Impact Nation? Welcome to the first episode of I'll Book It, the new show that I'm going to have here on the channel, the Anthem of Impact Wrestling Show channel, that is. Just something different that I want to start doing. Again, this first one I'm going to do is kind of how I would rebrand. I'm going to use the example of Impact Wrestling, mainly because I'm an Impact Wrestling reviewer, Impact Wrestling channel, super Impact Wrestling fan. They've tried to rebrand several different times. They're kind of going through it again right now. Plus, you also have some rebranding of some other places, like, with Billy Corgan at NWA trying to rebrand that and get that up and going. I don't think anybody's really said it, but Ring of Honor's kind of been rebranding itself, mainly with the huge influence of Strong Style and New Japan. Even though Ring of Honor's kind of always had a little bit of that, but that's kind of Strong Style's always kind of been around in independent wrestling, and Ring of Honor's really been like the top independent company out there, right? But anyway, before I get into it, please, if you guys like this or like my channel, like the videos I put up, like the content, please hit the subscribe button. Go follow me on Twitter at Anthem of Impact. Hit me up on there. I'm always willing to have good discussions on Twitter as well. Please leave comments down below if you like what I am saying in this video today. If you hate what I'm saying in this video today, please leave me comments down below. I don't care. Just give me some videos, hit some like buttons. Always like seeing what people think about what I do. Good or bad, to be honest with you. I don't really care. Good or bad, I like seeing it. I like hearing, getting feedback. But anyway, so we're going to get into it. Because I know a lot of different people have a lot of different thoughts on how they would go, or what they've always liked about Impact or TNA, what they think should happen, and so that's just always been something that's been on my mind as well. Of like, what would I do? Like, how would I go about it? Now, I understand a lot of these ideas that I might be coming up with. They're maybe aren't financially feasible. I'm not a businessman or anything like that, so I'm not gonna dive into all that stuff. This is just more of like kind of some different creative ideas that I've had, that I have about this topic, and we're just gonna go from there. So first thing that I would do, let's say that I just came in and I got put in charge of just being able to go do what needs to be done to get Impact Wrestling to where it needs to be. First thing I would have done, or first thing I would do, let's say I came in at Bound for Glory, okay? We'll have that kind of as like a timestamp of kind of knowing what's been happening with the company. So let's say I came in at Bound for Glory. What I would have done personally, because you have now all this time left, if I were, let's say leading into Bound for Glory, it was known that when the Jeff Jarrett stuff happened and somebody else is taking over, let's say, taking his spot, what I would have started doing is playing vignettes. Play little vignettes of, just kind of letting people know a change is coming. A change is coming. And then we would have gotten to Bound for Glory. And then just kind of through commentators, not let like any specific like new head guy come out and say anything. But finish up the stories, get through that. Get through the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, end it with, now these are our champions. Which obviously would have, and could have made the Gail Kim situation really good, or could have made it really bad, because here's what I'm saying, is then from then on, what I would do is just strictly for the next several weeks. Get to the basically almost try to get to the end of the year. And I know there's a big wide range of time there, and I do understand that. And sometimes you got to worry about possibly losing some fans because you're not on TV every week. As far as like a new show, because I would still have highlight shows. I would still have some past, like I would show past pay-per-views for free. Like old school, kind of getting people, remembering the good old days and stuff like that. I would keep the name Impact Wrestling. It would not be Global Force Wrestling. It would not be TNA either. It would be Impact, and I would just call it Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling is a good enough name. It's good enough because it reminds people that have been fans for a long time what it is. It keeps them knowing what that is, and then newcomers don't have to call it, TNA, tits and ass wrestling, basically. So the Impact is that kind of nice bridge between the old era and the new era. So I'm fine with that. Again, during these highlight episodes that would get us through the year, would be also some other vignettes that keep people up to date with what's going on as far as a change. Also, what I would do if I'm like head booker or just came in as new owner or whatever you want to call it in this situation, I would be hitting up and trying to make, not like I wouldn't be kissing their ass necessarily, but I would definitely be trying to make amends with a lot of different, or try to get in good graces with a lot of different dirt sheet people. Not the ones that don't effing matter at all. I'm just talking about kind of some main ones. Try to do some interviews with them. Try to get the word out that things are changing. This is a new company. This is new. Things are changing. I would change, unfortunately, again, the belts, because the belts right now look like shit. The belts, the only one that looks okay is the X Division, just because since it's an X with the name across it anyway, it kind of works okay. The rest, it just does. It looks like they clearly went and got a bumper sticker and put a bumper sticker over it where it used to say Global Force Wrestling. And now it says Impact. Obviously, the Impact Grand Championship looks fine because that hasn't changed at all. So, for most of them, I would get those changed again, unfortunately, but it would have to be done because you need to come out and you need to do it right. Then what I would do, make it a very special night, either New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Sometimes those things can come back to bite you in the ass, and I get it. I would not have it anywhere close to midnight, obviously. But maybe a day, like a late afternoon, maybe like a 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and just run it for a couple hours. I wouldn't even do a full 3-hour pay-per-view. I would just maybe do like a good 2-hour pay-per-view. But I would be the return of Genesis. Okay? So I would then, somewhere around there though, because it would have to work real well, because you got a lot of college football stuff, so you'd have to, depending on what the scheduling is for different college football items and different other things that happen on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, also depending on what day of the week that falls on, it would also depend. So maybe it might be like 3rd, 4th, 5th, something like that. But it would be one of the first weeks or first days in that first week of January. Genesis is coming back. Genesis is coming back. Please, show up, blah, blah, blah. I would get the word out. I would have commercials going. I would be trying to advertise as much as I could. Obviously, like I say, budget willing, right? I would, yes, keep Impact, at least for this episode, out of Orlando. Would I have it in Canada? Me personally, no. If I'm in my scenario. If I'm in a scenario where I came in as like head creative guy and I'm working for Anthem, sure, maybe in Canada would work well because they're getting the tax cuts and everything else. I personally think the best thing for Genesis would have it held like somewhere in Vegas or New York, something like that. Either somewhere in Vegas like the MGM Grand or something like that, or in New York at the Hammerstein Ballroom, right? Something that's kind of cool, small, unique, different. I know the MGM Grand's a little bit bigger, but one of those like different things that they've used before. I think Impact's even used a smaller arena before. Whenever they've gone to Vegas, GFW, whatever they used, I can't remember what it was called now. But whatever they used, I think it'd be really cool. As long as you set it up right and you do the right commercials, you do the right promotion, that's what I would go with. I'll start letting it be known, different people that you would be adding to the company. Because I would also try to change up the roster a little bit. What's super hot right now? Indie wrestling, right? Indie wrestling is super hot. It's super popular. It's cool. Right now, the biggest problem I think with Impact is nobody thinks Impact Wrestling is cool. I personally think it's starting to change a little bit as of right now, is what's going on in real life with Jimmy Jacobs and Sami Callihan and some of those people coming in. But I would make a couple phone calls and try to do the best I could to get them signed, and that is Matt Riddle and Jeff Cobb. Those two guys, I would sign in a heartbeat. Have those two guys be part of Impact Wrestling. If people don't know who Jeff Cobb is exactly, please go watch him on YouTube. He is insane. If anybody watches Lucha Underground and still doesn't know who I'm talking about with Jeff Cobb, he is the one, supposedly, that plays the Monster Montanza. So, again, he's amazing, okay? But those two guys, I would go out of my way to sign to Impact Wrestling. Yes, the Sami Callihan signing, yes, that would happen as well. That's somebody I've wanted in Impact Wrestling for a very long time. I would try to throw money at Ricochet. I would try to throw money, excuse me, at, a couple of guys like that, okay? Shane Strickland, who plays Killshot in Lucha Underground. I would try to go get some of those type of people to bring into Impact Wrestling that are known as kind of internet darlings and start making it kind of seem like, hey, Impact's actually maybe kind of cool. I would also go out of my way to make a partnership with Wrestle Circus and try to have Wrestle Circus as kind of like this, and Wrestle Circus isn't the only one. I would try to find maybe, Sami Callihan. If you were to sign Sami Callihan, he also runs, I believe it's AAW, I think is the one that he runs. So you got two right there. Maybe try to find a third one. And that's kind of now your new nucleus of brands here in the U.S., where you can send different talents to develop them better. Without having a development, performance center, have guys that you like. Scott D'Amore is still working for the company. Let's say in this situation he is too. So you have Border City Wrestling. Get the Can-Am Dojo, right? All these different people where you can start developing people. So he can have people in his school, Scott D'Amore's school, that he is training and getting ready. Then he can have him work in Canada. He can have them come down and work and develop even more down in Austin, Texas, and I think it's based out of Chicago. Is that one, or Cleveland or something like that? Have them work there, and then whenever they kind of develop who they are, what they like, and we're ready, and Impact's ready to make a star out of them, then they debut on Impact Wrestling. But I would make a couple people that we are signing known, so people know that they're gonna be there. Obviously, you got to make a couple hidden. Do your best to do that, and have a couple surprises on that first show. So all that hard work of signing, changing over the roster, trying to change the perception of the company with, internet dirt sheets. I'm not a big guy that likes dirt sheets or even really cares what they necessarily think as a fan. But if I'm working for the company, I want them on my good side, because even though they're not legit, I hate to say that, but most of them aren't. They're not like legit journalists that know anything of what's going on. They just hear some rumors. Maybe they know somebody that works somewhere at some company, and then they think that they hear actual, news, and they don't. But at the same time, you need them to be on the good side, so then they're not reporting every stupid thing that ever happens and, makes your company look terrible. Because there's a lot of internet wrestling fans that do care about what these dirt sheets say for whatever reason, and they stop watching. So get all that work done. Like I said, you get all that stuff taken care of. Get the new titles and everything. Then you have Genesis. And I personally think, especially in today's wrestling world and today's reality, I personally think you need an authority figure. Not on TV all the time, not always, but there needs to be somebody in charge who is putting people in matches for a reason, right? You can't just have matches and be like, oh, well, it must have been because of somebody. No, I think you need to have an authority figure. Who that authority figure is, I mean, I've had a couple of different ideas, but I think I would really like to see, as an authority figure, for once, be Scott D'Amore. Because if you're not going to use him as a manager, like if he's got some actual time to do this, I don't know if he actually does. I would like to see Scott D'Amore, because I think he would never overshine, I don't believe, any of the talent that you see sometimes with these other authority figures try to do. And I don't think with him he would be the type of guy that would also not play the role very well. So I would probably, at the end of the day, probably have Scott D'Amore. And I'd have Scott D'Amore come out at the beginning of Genesis, and he would just lay it all out. This is a new beginning. This is a Genesis for this company. That's why we brought the name of this pay-per-view back. And tonight, I promise you, you will leave this arena tonight not only proud of what this company has done tonight, but will be excited for what this company is going to do in the future. And say that we know what's happened in the past. We know our representation. Can't think of words. But we know our rep, and we're here from this moment forward to prove to you that this is a new day. And then goes through and lays out what's going to happen at this night. Probably right then and there, I would call out all the current champions, which, the way I would have done Bound for Glory would have been, so you would have had Eli Drake, EC3, OVE, Alley, and then Trevor Lee. All come out. And it was said, okay, tonight is the night that, like I said, we start anew. You all will be defending your championships tonight. And I would start off with Trevor Lee. Trevor Lee, you are going to defend your title in an Ultimate X match against Desmond Xavier, the Super X Cup champion. And then that's whenever, you're kind of, oh, who is it? Ricochet. Then Ricochet comes on out, right? So then there's that triple threat Ultimate X match. That's killer. That could start off the show and go nutso. So there you go. There's that match. Then you got, the tag teams. OVE, you're going to wrestle, you're going to defend your championships tonight in a gauntlet match featuring teams that you will find out who they are as they walk through the door. Of course, you got LAX, VOW. I would bring back Reno Scum. And then the last two would be the Chosen Bros, Matt Riddle and Jeff Cobb. Then, Allie, you're going to face or you're gonna defend your title, and your title is going to be in a ladder match against Sienna, Rosemary, and Taya Valkyrie. Boom. There's that match. Then we go on to the Grand Championship, and I would say we're scrapping the Grand Championship, EC3. The Grand Championship is now the television champion. And then have Scott D'Amore say, and listen, this is not a demotion. What we're doing here is we want you, EC3, to take this television championship, this Impact TV championship, and we want you to make it more prestigious than that World Heavyweight Champion. We don't want just one champion in this company. We want two. And it's up to you to make that mean something. And tonight, you're taking on excuse me, Bobby Lashley. EC3 versus Bobby Lashley. Always a good match. Then we got Eli Drake. Dummy. Yeah. We're going to have Eli Drake in a one-on-one match for the World Heavyweight Championship against, and unfortunately I don't think we'd be able to get him back, but I would want to say James Storm because that's what I want to see so bad. But if I'm going with the current contracts and who we have and everything else, I'm going Eli Drake versus Alberto El Patron, one-on-one. Boom. So that would be kind of what it would be throughout the night. And I know a lot of people are probably going to sit here and say, no, I don't like Alberto. But look, facts are facts, man. Alberto El Patron, he is a big name. And I know a lot of people try to downplay that don't like him. But the numbers don't lie. Whenever he's on TV, whether it's because people like him or hate him, it doesn't matter. The numbers are up. And the ratings are up. And the views on YouTube on his videos are up. They're always leading. So you can't necessarily hate on that. Yeah, so those would be the matches that I would have. Throughout the night, I would have Ricochet win the X Division Championship. I would have probably LAX win the Tag Team Championships. The only reason why I wouldn't have Matt Riddle and Jeff Cobb win is because that's just how I would introduce them, and then have them get into different, probably Matt Riddle into the Television Championship stuff, and then Jeff Cobb in the World Heavyweight Championship stuff. But that's just how I would introduce them, because it'd be a surprise thing. They would probably be like the last ones out, and then they'd face LAX, and then due to the LAX gang stuff, numbers game, they would beat Matt Riddle and Jeff Cobb. I would have Rosemary win the Knockouts Championship. I would have EC3 hold on to the Television Championship. And I would and this is what I would do with EC3. I would book him like ECW did Rob Van Dam with that TV championship. EC3 is holding on to that championship for a very, very, very long time. Almost reminiscent to how Jay Lethal was booked with the television title. Because EC3's cocky, I'm the shit attitude, I'm this company attitude, would help elevate that TV title to where it's like, okay, who's the better champion, the TV champion or the World Heavyweight Champion? I like that dynamic. I don't like it whenever the TV championship is relegated to like almost below what an X Division cruiserweight, lightweight championship is. Because the television championship would be defended every episode of Impact and every pay-per-view. That would happen. I wouldn't start that way, and then like 2 weeks in, it's not being defended. Also, I would have Eli Drake win the World Heavyweight Championship, and then have those two really feud for a little while. For Alberto to win it off of Eli eventually, like several months down the road. Because then what I want to see what I really want to see is Alberto Patron versus Jeff Cobb for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that would be phenomenal stuff. Be really good. Eventually have the good guy Jeff Cobb beat Alberto. Then you've got the next feud that I would probably go with, which would be Bobby Lashley and Jeff Cobb, and do more of like a shoot, wrestle, MMA style matches with those two guys, to where it seemed really physical and really intense. So that's how I would do some of that stuff. So then by the end of the night, you've got a bunch of new champions, some current champions staying with their titles. You've got newcomers. You've got a new established set. No screwy finishes. You're trying to set up, I know I just talked about the numbers game, but that's LAX. I would set up LAX to be the Bullet Club of Impact Wrestling. LAX would be the Latino cool bad guy group faction of Impact Wrestling. After whoever would come out of the ladder match, obviously I'd like to play on that Allie Rosemary thing like they did in Smash Wrestling for a little while, and then eventually out of that you have Diamante try to go after that Knockouts Championship. I would have Alberto Patron join LAX as the head guy. So you got Conan as kind of like the mouthpiece and kind of like the boss. Then you got the next guy down, which is Patron, and he's got the World Heavyweight Championship. Homicide maybe go after the X Division at some point. Then you got the tag team champs and the possible knockout champion. I just think that'd be really cool. Really cool to see. And then maybe eventually, whenever different things happen, you can have Pentagon Jr. or Phoenix come in, join LAX, and then they become the TV champion at some point. But like I said, that would be way down the road because I would have EC3 hold on to that for a good year, not a year plus. But yeah, so that's kind of how I would start off with Impact Wrestling going forward. I would definitely make it more about wrestling, but you can't have wrestling without some storylines. You got to have some type of storylines. I just wouldn't have it to where you've got, a ton of segments of videos. Maybe a couple of pre-tapes of different things happening, explaining different situations. Again, I would only have Scott D'Amore appear on TV whenever, let's say, something's happening in the ring, like, oh my God, it's this guy and that guy, and he just screwed this guy, and what's going to happen? Scott D'Amore can come out and be like, listen, this is not what's going to happen. You are out of here, and this person, restart the match, or whatever. That's the only time he would appear. He's not going to come out and just have random backstage segments where he's walking up to people, or, like in WWE, where they're sitting in their office just talking on the phone, and then they come mess with them, That wouldn't happen. He's just there really to facilitate different stories and to make sense of why matches are happening. That is it. That's the only reason why I think you need an authority figure. Obviously, try your hardest to get off of Pop TV. It's just a bad deal. Try to get it to where you can get on a channel where you're making money off of it. Hopefully, a channel that more people would be willing, would accidentally be flipping through and happen to see what your product is and hopefully start watching it. But yeah, so that's how I would rebrand it. Again, I'm not going to go too much further. I mean, I got you to how I would get to that one point, and how I would look at Impact Wrestling overall into the future. But anyway, leave the comments. Like I said, leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. And also, hit me up, like I said, on Twitter, at Anthem of Impact, or even down here in the comments, and give me some ideas for maybe next week. What would you like to see me give my creative juices flowing with, and some ideas to do the next episode of I'll Book It. Anyway, until Friday with my Impact review, everybody, peace.